Who let this cockroach teach our children? Derek Morrison's voice cut through a packed hallway. 30 students, 2 teachers nearby. Nobody said a word. Quinn Taylor, new English teacher, stood still. I'm talking music to you, Roach. Derek stepped closer. Quinn met his eyes. I was hired, music, to teach. Same as you. Derek snapped. He slapped the binder out of her arms, grabbed her shoulder, and shoved her to the ground. Quinn hit the floor hard. Laughter. Papers everywhere. Stay down there, cockroach. That's where your kind belongs. 5 men stood over her laughing. Quinn didn't cry, didn't speak. She picked up her papers one by one with hands that never once trembled. Not the hands of a scared teacher. The hands of someone trained for something far worse than a hallway bully. Derek Morrison knocked down the wrong woman. He just didn't know it yet. Look, to understand what happened next, you got to know where this all started and who Quinn Taylor really was. Ridgemont High sat at the edge of a small town in southern Georgia, the kind of town where everyone knew your name and your business. The school looked like it had been forgotten by the state a long time ago. Paint peeling off every wall, half the ceiling tiles missing. Air conditioning broke down 3 summers back and never got fixed. Students walked through hallways that smelled like mildew and floor wax. The football field had brown patches. The library had empty shelves. Teachers came and went like seasons. Most didn't last a full year. The ones who stayed learned one rule fast. Don't cross Derek Morrison. Derek taught PE. He'd been at Ridgemont for 15 years. Tenure, union protection, a handshake deal with every administrator who came through. He ran the school's after-school fundraisers, car washes, bake sales, raffles. On paper, the money went to student programs. In reality, most of it lined his pockets and kept his 4 friends comfortable. Craig Hobbs, Vince Fuller, Brady Sutton, Neil Watts. All staff, all loyal to Derek. They controlled the hallways, the parking lot, the faculty lounge. Younger teachers learned to keep their heads down. The ones who didn't, they got pushed out. 3 quit in the last 2 years alone. No complaints filed, no investigations, just gone. Principal Whitfield ran the school the way a man runs from a fire. Eyes forward, no looking back. He knew what Derek did. He chose peace over justice every single time. That was the world Quinn Taylor walked into on a Monday morning in August. She pulled up in a 10-year-old pickup truck, 1 box of books in the back seat, no family dropping her off, no friends waiting at the entrance. Just a woman in a clean blouse and flat shoes, carrying everything she owned into a building that didn't want her. Quinn grew up in rural Mississippi, raised by her grandmother after her mother left, and her father never showed up. They lived in a house with a leaking roof and 1 working heater. Her grandmother cleaned houses 6 days a week. On Sundays, she made Quinn read out loud from whatever book they had. At 18, Quinn had 2 choices, minimum wage or the Marines. She chose the Marines not because she wanted to fight, because she wanted structure, discipline, a reason to wake up at 4 in the morning and believe the day meant something. She spent 8 years at Parris Island, rose to senior drill instructor, trained hundreds of recruits. She could read body language the way most people read street signs. Fast, automatic, and never wrong. Her hands knew 12 ways to end a fight before it started. Her voice could freeze a room full of grown men. But the voice she used at Ridgemont was different. Soft, patient, almost gentle. That was a choice. When her grandmother had a stroke 2 years ago, Quinn left the Corps. Honorable discharge, full benefits, she moved back south and enrolled in a teaching program. Not because the pay was better, it wasn't. Because her grandmother once told her, the best thing you can do with strength is build someone up. So Quinn came to Ridgemont to teach English, to build. She didn't talk about the Marines, didn't hang her medals, didn't correct anyone who assumed she was just another young teacher who'd be gone by Christmas. She kept her military ID in the bottom of her desk drawer under a stack of grammar worksheets. Nobody knew, not the students, not the staff, not Derek Morrison. On her first day, Quinn set up her classroom alone. She taped a quote to the wall above the whiteboard. "Discipline is choosing your moment." That evening in the parking lot, Derek leaned against his truck and lit a cigarette. Craig stood next to him. "New girl in room 14, Craig said. Quiet type. Derek blew smoke into the evening air. "Give her 2 weeks. She'll quit like the last 3. He flicked the cigarette onto the pavement and walked away. He had no idea what was coming. Quinn's first faculty meeting lasted 40 minutes. She sat in the back row, didn't speak unless spoken to. Derek ran the room like he owned it, louder than the principal, more comfortable than anyone with a clipboard should be. When it came time to assign classrooms, Derek read from a list. Every teacher got their usual room. Then he looked at Quinn. Room 108, end of the east wing. A few teachers exchanged glances. Room 108 hadn't been used in 2 years. Black mold along the ceiling. No projector. One window that didn't open. The vent pushed out warm air in summer, and nothing in winter. Quinn nodded. "That works. Thank you." Derek smiled. The kind of smile that says, "I just won and you don't even know it." But Quinn made it work. She scrubbed the walls herself after hours, brought in her own lamp, taped poems and vocabulary words across every surface, until the room felt alive. Within 2 weeks, students started showing up early. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. One of them was Jalen, sophomore, black kid, skinny, quiet in the hallways, but sharp as a blade in discussion. Other students picked on him, stole his notebook, tripped him between classes. Teachers pretended not to see. Jalen had learned to walk close to walls and keep his eyes down. But in Quinn's class, he sat in the front row, talked, asked questions, even laughed. Derek noticed. Not the teaching, not the growth. He noticed that students liked her more than they liked him, and that was enough. Within a week, Quinn's supply budget was gone, redirected to the PE department. Then, a rumor started floating through the faculty lounge. Quinn Taylor had faked her college transcripts. No proof, just whispers, all starting from the same direction. Quinn went to Principal Whitfield. She brought documentation, transcripts, certification letters. She laid them on his desk calmly. Whitfield barely looked up. "Derek's been here 15 years, Miss Taylor. I'd suggest finding a way to get along." Quinn walked out without another word. The next morning, she unlocked her classroom door and stopped. Every desk was flipped, books thrown across the floor, and on the whiteboard in red spray paint, 2 words, "Go home." Quinn stood in the doorway for a long time. Then she sat down her bag, picked up the first desk, and got to work. She didn't call anyone, didn't report it. But that night, she stopped at a hardware store and bought a dash cam. She mounted it on her truck's dashboard before sunrise. Quinn Taylor was done, hoping things would get better. She was starting to prepare for how bad they were going to get. Derek Morrison sat alone in his office after school, door shut, blinds closed. He wasn't grading anything. Derek hadn't written a real lesson plan in 6 years. His coaching records were half fiction, win-loss numbers inflated, student participation forms signed by kids who never showed up. The fundraiser accounts had gaps wide enough to drive a truck through. None of that mattered. Not as long as everyone at Ridgemont stayed in line. Then Quinn Taylor showed up. She didn't challenge him directly. That was the problem. She didn't need to. Every time her students improved, every time a parent said something positive about room 108, it reflected back on Derek, like a mirror he didn't want to look into. If someone like her, new connections, no tenure, could do this much with nothing, what did that say about him? Derek leaned back in his chair and cracked his knuckles. He picked up his phone and texted Craig, "Time to turn up the heat." The next day, it started. Brady Sutton shouldered Quinn in the hallway between 3rd and 4th period, hit her hard enough to knock her sideways into the lockers. He kept walking, didn't look back, didn't say sorry. Quinn straightened her blouse, kept moving. 2 days later, Neil Watts followed her to the parking lot after school. He stood near her truck, filming her on his phone, smiling. Didn't say a word, just filmed. When Quinn asked him to stop, he laughed and walked away. That night, Quinn found 2 of her tires slashed. No cameras in the staff lot, no witnesses, or at least none willing to talk. She called a tow truck, waited 2 hours in the dark, and wrote every detail in a leather-bound journal she kept in her glove box. Date, time, description, names. She had started the journal, her first week. Now it was filling up fast, 11 entries in 19 days. She also saved every email, every supply request that got denied, every schedule change that only affected her. Quinn filed them in a folder on her laptop labeled Teaching Resources. It wasn't teaching resources. The next Monday, Derek made his move. Quinn was in the gym storage room after school, returning a set of cones she'd borrowed for a classroom activity. The room was small. Concrete walls, metal shelves, one door. Derek walked in behind her and let the door close. "You're still here," he said. "Not a question." Quinn turned around. "I'm returning equipment." Derek stepped closer, close enough that she could smell coffee and cigarettes. He reached out and flicked her lanyard, let it snap back against her chest. "Let me make this simple for you." His voice was low now, not performing for a crowd. "Just him. You don't belong here. Not in this school, not in this town. Your little classroom makeover, your fan club of kids, none of that matters. I decide who stays and who goes." Quinn didn't step back. She looked straight at his eyes. Not through him, not past him, directly at him, and said nothing. 5 seconds. 10. Derek's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to silence. Yelling he could handle, crying he could enjoy, but silence. Silence made him feel like the smaller man. He stepped back first, pointed a finger at her face. Clocks ticking, roach. Then he walked out. Quinn stood in the storage room, alone. She pulled out her journal and wrote the date, the time, and every word he said. Then she went home. The next day, Jalen stayed after class. He closed the door behind him. "Miss Taylor, I saw what Brady did to you in the hallway last week." Quinn looked up from her desk. "I'm fine, Jalen." "No, it's not fine." Jalen's hands were balled into fists. "They do the same thing to me every day. I'm tired of doing nothing." Quinn studied him. She saw the anger in his jaw, the shame underneath. She recognized it because she'd seen it 1,000 times on the faces of 18-year-old recruits who thought fighting was the only way to prove they weren't weak. "Jalen, sit down." He sat. "Discipline is not doing nothing. Discipline is choosing your moment. You throw a punch now, you get expelled. They win. You wait, you document, you build your case, and when the time comes, you stand so tall, they can't ignore you." Jalen stared at her. "How long do I wait? Until it counts?" He didn't fully understand, but he trusted her. He picked up his backpack and left. Quinn sat at her desk for another hour, adding to her journal. Meanwhile, Derek was busy. He called a meeting of the Booster Club, 6 parents who ran most of the school's volunteer programs. He told them Quinn was difficult, aggressive, not a team player. The word aggressive hung in the air with a weight that everyone in the room understood, but nobody acknowledged. By the end of the week, 2 parents had complained to Whitfield about the new English teacher. They couldn't name a specific problem. They just had a feeling. Whitfield filed the complaints without investigation. Quinn was never told they existed. Then Derek played his final card. He stood up at the next faculty meeting with a wide grin on his face. "I've been thinking," he said. "Moral's been low. Let's do something fun. Staff fitness challenge. Obstacle course on the football field. 2 weeks from Saturday. Whole school's invited. Parents, too." He looked directly at Quinn. "Everyone participates. No exceptions." A few teachers clapped. Most stayed silent. They knew what this was. Craig leaned over to Vince and whispered, "She's going to embarrass herself in front of the whole town." Quinn sat in the back row with her hands folded. Her face gave away nothing, but under the table, She pressed her thumb against the scar on her left knuckle, the one she got during combat training at Paris Island, and made a decision. She would show up. She would participate, and she would let Derek Morrison build his own stage. What he put on that stage was going to be his problem. That night, Quinn sat on the floor of her apartment with her journal open, her laptop beside her, and a phone pressed to her ear. Donna Greer picked up on the second ring. Former Marine, same unit, now a Veterans Affairs attorney in Atlanta. The kind of woman who could read a legal document the way Quinn read body language, fast and without mercy. "How bad?" Donna asked. 11 incidents in 3 weeks, physical contact twice, property damage, slander, all documented. Dashcam running every day, emails saved, backed up twice. Donna was quiet for a moment. "Don't file yet. Let them keep going. The longer the pattern, the harder it is to explain away. And Quinn, whatever happens at that fitness challenge, make sure someone else is filming, not you." Quinn nodded. She already knew who. After the call, she spread her evidence across the floor. Journal entries, screenshots, timestamps, dates matched to emails matched to parking lot footage. 12 pieces, everyone clean. She closed the journal and stood up, walked to her closet, pulled out a pair of combat boots she hadn't worn in 2 years. She set them by the front door. Quinn wasn't planning to fight. She was planning to finish it. Saturday morning, Ridgemont High football field. The sun was already hot by 9 o'clock. Someone had set up a folding table with water bottles and a clipboard. Someone else had hung a banner between 2 poles. Ridgemont Staff Fitness Challenge in red block letters. Half the town showed up. Parents in lawn chairs, students along the fence. A few local business owners standing near the bleachers with coffee in hand. Derek had promoted the event all week. Flyers in every classroom, announcements over the PA. He wanted an audience. He got one. The obstacle course ran the length of the field. Tire run, rope climb, snorts, low, crawl under cargo net, wall climb, sprint finish. Derek had designed it himself. Heavy on upper body, built for men who spent their weekends lifting weights and reminding everyone about it. Derek stood at the start line in a sleeveless shirt, arms crossed. Craig, Vince, Brady, and Neil flanked him like a wall. All smiling, all looking at Quinn. Quinn stood at the far end of the line. Black leggings, plain gray shirt, hair pulled back tight, no expression. She looked like someone waiting for a bus. "Looking a little nervous over there," Derek called out. A few parents laughed. Quinn didn't look up. She adjusted her shoes, flat training sneakers, nothing fancy, and waited. Principal Whitfield blew the whistle. Derek took off fast, loud, arms pumping. His boys followed, Craig grunting through the tires, Brady attacking the rope like it owed him money. Quinn started slow, controlled. Her feet hit each tire with precision. No wasted motion, no noise. While Derek fought the course, Quinn moved through it like the course was something she had built herself. The rope climb separated them, Clear's throat. Derek grabbed the rope and muscled his way up, strong but sloppy. His face went red. His shoes slipped twice. He reached the top and slapped the bar with a yell. Quinn reached the rope 4 seconds later. She wrapped it around her boot, using a technique called a break and squat. Standard Marine climb. 3 poles, smooth, silent. She reached the top before Craig was halfway up. The crowd went quiet. The low crawl was next. Cargo net stretched 2 feet above the dirt. Derek dropped and powered through on his elbows. Fast, aggressive dirt flying. Quinn dropped flat and moved like water, chest to the ground, elbows and knees in perfect rhythm. She cleared the net a full body length ahead of him. Now, people were standing. The wall climb, Clear's throat, 8 feet of plywood, no footholds. Derek jumped, grabbed the top edge, and hauled himself over with a grunt. Quinn hit the wall at a jog. 1 step on the base, hands on the edge. She vaulted over in a single motion. The way you learn when the drill instructor is screaming and the clock is at 0. She crossed the finish line first by 11 seconds. The crowd didn't clap right away. They just stared. Then one student near the fence started clapping, then another, then the whole sideline. Derek stood at the finish line, chest heaving, face red, sweat dripping off his chin. He stared at Quinn like she had stolen something from him. Clear's throat. Quinn stood still, breathing normal, hands at her sides. "Lucky! Run!" Derek said loud enough for everyone to hear. Quinn said nothing. That was the wrong move because silence was the thing Derek couldn't handle. Silence made the crowd look at him. Silence made him small. He walked toward her fast, got in her face, close enough for her to feel his breath. I said, "Lucky, run." Quinn looked at him calm. "I heard you." Derek shoved her, both hands on her shoulders hard. She stumbled back 2 steps but didn't fall. The crowd gasped. "Derek, stop!" Someone called from the bleachers. He didn't stop. He grabbed Quinn's arm and pulled her forward. "You think you're better than me?" Brady moved in from the left, Vince from the right. Craig stepped up behind her. Neil circled wide, cutting off her exit. 5 men, 1 woman, 100 witnesses. Quinn's breathing changed, not faster, deeper. Her weight shifted to the balls of her feet. Her hands came up, not as fists, but open. Palms facing out, a stance nobody in the crowd recognized, but any Marine would. Derek swung first, a wide right hook aimed at her jaw. Quinn stepped inside the arc. Her left hand redirected his wrist. Her right hand locked under his elbow. One twist, Derek's body followed his arm. His feet left the ground. He hit the dirt flat on his back. The sound, a heavy, wet thud, echoed across the field. Brady charged from the left. Quinn pivoted. She caught his lead arm, stepped across his body, and used his momentum to sweep his legs. He went down face first into the grass. Vince came next, swinging wild. Quinn ducked low, stepped behind his knee, and applied a standing joint lock to his wrist. He dropped to one knee. She held the lock for 2 seconds, just enough for him to feel it, then released. Craig hesitated. That was his mistake. Quinn closed the gap in 1 step. She hooked his ankle with her foot and pressed his chest with an open palm. Simple, clean. He fell backward like a tree. Neil didn't swing. He raised both hands and backed away. "Stay down." Quinn's voice carried across the silent field. Not yelling, not shaking. The voice of a woman who had said those 2 words 1,000 times to recruits twice her size. Derek lay on his back, blinking at the sky. His shoulder was on fire. He rolled over and looked up at Quinn. She stood in the center of the field. 5 men on the ground were retreating, breathing even, hands still open, not a scratch. She hadn't thrown a single punch. The crowd erupted. Students screamed, parents stood on their chairs. Jalen pressed stop on his phone camera. His hands were shaking. He had captured every second from Derek's first shove to Quinn's last word. By lunch, the video was on every social media platform in the county. By dinner, it had crossed state lines. By midnight, #QuinnTaylor was trending. Then #StandUpRidgemont. Then #TRakedown. Comment sections exploded. Who is this woman? She didn't throw 1 punch. That's not fighting. That's training. Queen. People shared it, reacted to it, slowed it down, frame by frame. The wrist lock on Derek, the sweep on Brady, the calm in her eyes while 5 men surrounded her. 3 million views in 72 hours. Quinn didn't watch the video. She went home, took a shower, and wrote in her journal. But while she was writing, Derek Morrison was dialing his lawyer. And by Monday morning, an assault complaint had been filed against QuinnTaylor at the county courthouse. The woman, who hadn't thrown a single punch, was now facing criminal charges. Nah. 5 dudes jump 1 woman. She don't throw a single punch. Not one. And she catches the charge. Not them, her. Put yourself there. You do everything right, and they still come for you. If that don't make your blood boil, nothing will. Monday morning, Quinn pulled into the Ridgemont parking lot at 7:15. 2 police cruisers were already there. An officer met her at the front door with a folded document. Quinn Taylor. Yes, you've been served. Assault complaint filed by Derek Morrison, Craig Hobbs, Vince Fuller, Brady Sutton, and Neil Watts. You're also suspended from teaching duties pending a full investigation by the school board. Quinn took the document, read it standing in the doorway while students walked past her. Some stared, some whispered. One sophomore touched her arm and said, "We saw what really happened, Miss Taylor." Quinn nodded. Go to class. She drove home with the document on her passenger seat. She didn't cry. She didn't call anyone. She sat in her apartment for 10 minutes reading every word. Then she called Donna Greer. They filed, Quinn said. All five. All 5. Same story. Same lawyer. They're saying I attacked without provocation. Donna let out a slow breath. Coordinated statements. That means they rehearsed. What about the school security cameras? I'll find out. She found out fast. By Tuesday afternoon, Neil Watts had filed a request with the school's IT department to archive the security footage from the football field. Archive was a polite word for delete. The IT coordinator, a 23-year-old kid named Thomas, who had been at Ridgemont for 6 months, didn't ask questions. He just did it. The footage was gone. When Quinn heard, she sat at her kitchen table and opened her journal. She wrote one line. They erased the camera footage. They don't know about the rest. The rest was Jalen's phone. 11 minutes and 43 seconds of uncut video. Every shove, every swing, every takedown, time-stamped, geotagged, saved to his cloud drive, and backed up on a USB stick that Quinn now kept in a locked box under her bed. But Quinn didn't release the video. Not yet. Donna told her to wait. Let them build their lie as tall as they want. The taller it gets, the harder it falls. By Wednesday, Derek's version had reached the local news. Channel 4 ran the story at 6 o'clock. The anchor read from a statement provided by Derek's attorney. 5 Ridgemont High staff members were violently attacked during a school-sponsored event by a fellow employee. The victims are seeking full criminal prosecution and civil damages. They showed Derek's photo, smiling coaching jersey, arms around students. They showed Quinn's employee badge photo, unsmiling, flat-lighting, the kind of picture that makes anyone look like a suspect. No context, no student interviews, no mention that Derek threw the first shove. Derek watched the broadcast from his living room. Craig sat next to him, beers on the table. Derek leaned back and grinned. "She's done," he said. "Nobody comes back from this." Craig nodded. "What about the kid's video, the one who was filming?" Derek waved his hand. "A student's phone video, against 5 adult witnesses and a police report. Nobody's going to care." He was wrong. But he didn't know that yet. By Thursday, Quinn's name was everywhere, and not in a good way. Local Facebook groups split down the middle. Half the comments said she was a hero. The other half called her dangerous. She attacked 5 men. What kind of teacher does that? Doesn't matter what they said to her. Violence is never the answer. She should be in jail, not a classroom. Quinn read none of it. Donna told her to stay off the internet. Anything you post, anything you like, anything you vomit, it becomes evidence. Go dark. Quinn went dark. She unplugged her router, turned off her phone after 8 p.m. She ran 5 miles every morning at dawn, came home, and reviewed her evidence folder. 12 incidents before the fitness challenge. Dashcam footage of Craig near her truck. The night her tires were slashed. A saved voicemail from Whitfield's office admitting he'd received her complaint. 11 journal entries with dates that matched email trails and Jalen's video. Donna drove down from Atlanta on Friday, They sat at Quinn's kitchen table until midnight, organizing everything into a single file, chronological, cross-referenced, and clean enough to present in any courtroom. "When do we use this?" Quinn asked. At the hearing, in front of everyone on the record, Donna closed the folder. "They want a public execution. We'll give them a public trial." The school board hearing was set for the following Thursday. Both sides would present evidence, open session, community invited. Derek spent the week rehearsing his testimony with his lawyer. The story was simple. Quinn had snapped during the fitness challenge and attacked 5 unarmed men. No provocation, no warning, just violence. He also made calls. 3 school board members had known Derek for over a decade. He coached their kids, ran their fundraisers, shook their hands at church every Sunday. He reminded each of them casually, carefully, how much he'd done for Ridgemont. "You know me," he told board member Patricia Caldwell over the phone. 15 years. You really going to take the word of a woman who's been here 3 weeks? Patricia didn't answer right away. Then she said, "Just tell the truth, Derek. That's all any of us have to do." Derek hung up and poured himself another drink. He wasn't worried about the truth. He was worried about control. And for 15 years, control had never been a problem. Meanwhile, something was happening that Derek didn't see. Donna had filed a counter-complaint on Quinn's behalf. Harassment, workplace intimidation, and destruction of evidence. Attached to the complaint were 4 things: Quinn's incident journal, the dashcam footage, a formal request to investigate the deleted security tapes, and a subpoena for Ridgemont's fundraiser financial records from the past 3 years. The subpoena landed on Principal Whitfield's desk on Monday morning. He read it twice. Then he closed his office door and didn't come out for an hour. 3 former Ridgemont teachers, the ones who quit before Quinn arrived, had also been contacted by Donna. Each one agreed to submit a written statement describing their experience with Derek Morrison. Same pattern, same tactics: intimidation, isolation, forced resignation. None of them had spoken up before. They were afraid. But Quinn's video, the one the whole country had seen, changed something. It made them feel less alone. On Wednesday night, the night before the hearing, Quinn sat on her apartment floor, evidence folder on the table, boots by the door, journal in her lap. She turned to the first page, the entry from her first week at Ridgemont. She read it out loud to herself quietly, the way her grandmother used to read scripture on Sunday mornings. Then she closed the journal, turned off the light, and went to bed. Tomorrow, she wouldn't need her hands. She would need her voice. Thursday, 9 a.m., Ridgemont High Auditorium. Every seat was taken. Parents, students, local reporters. 2 camera crews from Atlanta stations that had picked up the story. A row of folding chairs had been added along the back wall, and those were full too. People stood in the doorway. Some held phones, some held signs. "Stand with Quinn on one side of the aisle. Protect our staff on the other." The school board sat behind a long table on the stage. 5 members, Patricia Caldwell in the center, microphones, water pictures, a stack of folders thick enough to prop open a door. Derek Morrison sat on the left side of the auditorium with his lawyer, a man named Glenn Archer, gray suit, silver watch, the kind of attorney who billed by the half hour and never smiled. Craig, Vince, Brady, and Neil sat in the row behind them, all in collared shirts, all quiet. Derek had told them to look calm, professional, like victims. Quinn sat on the right side, Donna Greer beside her, one folder on the table. Quinn wore a navy blouse and flat shoes. No jewelry, no expression. She looked the way she always looked. Still, Patricia Caldwell opened the session. "This is a public hearing regarding the incidents of April 14th at the Ridgemont staff fitness event. Both parties will present statements and evidence. We'll begin with the complainant." Glenn Archer stood. He buttoned his jacket and walked to the microphone, like a man who had done this 100 times. On April 14th, during a voluntary school fitness event, My client's 5 longtime Ridgemont employees were physically assaulted by Ms. Quinn Taylor without warning, without provocation. Mr. Morrison suffered a dislocated shoulder. Mr. Hobbs sustained facial abrasions. Mr. Fuller has been unable to extend his right wrist fully since the incident. He paused. Let the words settle. My clients are not here to attack Ms. Taylor's character. They are here to ask one simple question. Is this the kind of behavior we accept from someone trusted with our children? He returned to his seat. Derek nodded slowly, rehearsed. Patricia turned to the right side of the room. Miss Taylor, your response. Donna stood. She didn't walk to the microphone. She spoke from the table. Clear, unhurried. We'd like to present our evidence in order, chronological, starting 61 days before the fitness event. Patricia nodded. Proceed. Donna opened the folder. Entry 1, March 3rd, Miss Taylor's first week at Ridgemont. She was assigned to room 108, a classroom condemned for mold and removed from the active roster 2 years prior. Assigned by Mr. Morrison, who has no authority over classroom placement. She placed the document on the table. Entry 2, March 8th. Miss Taylor's supply budget was redirected to the PE department approved by Mr. Morrison. No principal's signature. Another document. Entry 3, March 12th. Miss Taylor was physically struck in the hallway by Brady Sutton, witnessed by 6 students. No report filed. The room shifted. A few parents leaned forward. Donna kept going. Entry after entry. 11 incidents, dates, times, descriptions. Each one matched to a saved email, a journal page, or a dashcam timestamp. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't editorialize. She just laid the facts on the table like bricks. When she reached entry 9, the storage room confrontation, she read Quinn's journal, word for word. Derek's voice captured in Quinn's handwriting. You don't belong here. Not in this school. Not in this town. Derek's lawyer leaned over and whispered something. Derek shook his head. Then Donna said, We'd now like to address the footage from April 14th. Glenn Archer stood immediately. The school's security footage from that date has been archived and is currently unavailable. Donna didn't blink. We're not referring to the school's footage. She pulled a USB drive from the folder. This is an 11-minute, 43-second recording captured by a student's phone. Unedited, time-stamped, geotagged. She handed the drive to the board's IT assistant. 30 seconds later, the video played on the auditorium's projection screen. The crowd watched in silence. Derek shoving Quinn. Quinn stumbling, 5 men closing in. Then Quinn, calm, precise, surgical, neutralizing each one without a single closed fist. When it ended, nobody spoke. A woman in the 3rd row was crying. Patricia Caldwell removed her glasses and set them on the table. Mr. Morrison, the video clearly shows you initiating physical contact. Do you have a response? Derek's lawyer whispered again. Derek pushed him away and leaned into his microphone. That video is edited. It's been, she set me up. That whole event. She wanted this to happen. His voice cracked. The room heard it. Donna stood again. One more item, if the board will allow. Patricia nodded. We subpoenaed Ridgemont's fundraiser financial records from the past 3 years. Mr. Morrison managed these accounts personally. Donna placed a spreadsheet on the table. Over 36 months, approximately $19,000 in fundraiser revenue cannot be accounted for. Receipts are missing. Deposits don't match reported totals. Student program funds were dispersed to accounts controlled by Mr. Morrison and his associates. The auditorium erupted. Voices, gasps. A parent in the 4th row stood up and pointed at Derek. That was our money. Our kids' money. Patricia banged the table. Order. But Donna wasn't done. We also received written testimony from 3 former Ridgemont teachers, Ms. Ann Blackwood, Mr. Gerald Sims, and Ms. Tricia Nolan, each of whom resigned within the past 2 years. Each statement describes a pattern of intimidation, isolation, and harassment carried out by Mr. Morrison and his group. The same pattern Ms. Taylor documented. She placed 3 sealed envelopes on the table. Then she said the words that broke the room open. Finally, the board should be aware that an anonymous complaint was filed against Derek Morrison 3 years ago. It described harassment of a female teacher. That complaint was received by the former principal and never investigated. It was buried. Patricia Caldwell's face went pale. She turned to the board member on her left, then to the one on her right. None of them spoke. Derek stood up. His chair scraped the floor. His lawyer grabbed his arm. Derek pulled away. "This is garbage, all of it. I gave 15 years to this school. Sit down, Mr. Morrison." Patricia's voice was ice. Derek sat. The room was silent. Every phone pointed at the stage, every eye on the board. Patricia looked at Quinn. "Miss Taylor, do you have anything to say?" Quinn stood. She didn't move to the microphone. She spoke from where she was. Quiet, steady, the same voice she used in room 108. "I didn't come to Ridgemont to fight anyone. I came here to teach. I came here because my grandmother told me, the best thing you can do with strength is build someone up." She paused. "But I will never apologize for defending myself. And I will never apologize for standing up for my students." She sat down. The auditorium didn't cheer. It was something deeper than that. A long, heavy exhale. The sound of a room full of people who had watched something shift that could not shift back. Patricia Caldwell spoke into the microphone. "The board will deliberate. We'll reconvene in 1 hour with our decision." Quinn sat with her hands folded perfectly still. Donna put a hand on her shoulder. Outside the auditorium, Jalin sat on the hallway floor with his back against the wall. He had watched the whole thing through the cracked door. His phone was in his pocket. His hands were shaking. But for the first time in a long time, he wasn't afraid. He was proud. 1 hour and 14 minutes. That's how long the board deliberated. When the doors opened, people rushed back to their seats. The auditorium filled in under 2 minutes. The noise was louder now. Conversations layered on top of each other. Chairs scraping, phones buzzing. Someone near the back said, "Here we go." Then Patricia Caldwell walked onto the stage and the room went dead silent. She didn't sit down. She stood behind the microphone with a single sheet of paper in her hand. Her reading glasses sat low on her nose. She looked out at the crowd for a long moment before speaking. "The board has reached a unanimous decision." She looked down at the paper. First, regarding the complaint filed against Ms. Quinn Taylor. After reviewing video evidence, written documentation, and testimony from multiple sources, the board finds no grounds for disciplinary action. Ms. Taylor acted in clear self-defense after being physically assaulted by Mr. Morrison in the presence of witnesses. The complaint is dismissed in full. A ripple moved through the room. Not cheering, not yet. Just breath. M. Taylor is reinstated, effective immediately. She will receive full back pay for the duration of her suspension. Quinn's hands didn't move. Her face didn't change. Donna squeezed her arm under the table. Patricia continued. Second, regarding Mr. Derek Morrison, the board has found sufficient evidence of sustained workplace harassment, intimidation of colleagues, destruction of security footage, and financial mismanagement of school fundraiser accounts. Mr. Morrison's employment at Ridgemont High is terminated, effective today. His case will be referred to the district attorney's office for further investigation into potential fraud charges. Derek's face went white, not red white. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder. Derek didn't move. He stared at the table in front of him like it had just told him something he couldn't understand. Third, regarding Mr. Craig Hobbs, Mr. Vince Fuller, Mr. Brady Sutton, and Mr. Neil Watts. Each individual is placed on immediate administrative leave, pending a full investigation into their involvement in workplace harassment and the coordinated filing of a false police report. Mr. Watts will face an additional inquiry regarding the deletion of school security footage. Neil's head dropped. Brady rubbed his face with both hands. Craig stared at the ceiling. Vince looked at Derek, but Derek wasn't looking at anyone. Patricia set the paper down. This board failed Miss Taylor. We failed the teachers who came before her. A complaint was filed 3 years ago, and it was buried. That ends today. We will be conducting a full review of all staff conduct reports from the past 5 years, and we will be implementing a new independent reporting system so that no complaint from any teacher, any student, any parent goes unanswered again. She paused. Ms. Taylor, on behalf of this board, I owe you an apology. You deserved better from this institution. I'm sorry. Quinn stood. She nodded once. That was all. The room erupted. Students were the first to stand, then parents, then teachers, the quiet ones, the ones who had kept their heads down for years, the ones who had watched Derek run the school and said nothing. They stood now. Jalen was on his feet in the hallway. He pushed through the auditorium door and walked straight to Quinn. He didn't say anything. He just stood next to her. That was enough. Outside the building, the crowd spilled onto the front lawn. Someone had made signs overnight. Justice for Quinn. Ridgemont stands up. Parents hugged teachers. Students filmed everything. A local reporter asked Quinn for a comment. She shook her head politely and walked to her truck. By evening, the board's decision was national news. The video of Quinn's self-defense, already viral, exploded again, this time with context. News anchors played the footage alongside Donna's evidence presentation. Legal analysts broke down the case. Former Marines posted reaction videos. Hashtag Justice for Quinn trended at #1 for 16 hours. Hashtag Stand Up Ridgemont followed right behind. The next Monday, Quinn walked back into Ridgemont High through the same hallway where Derek had knocked her down, past the same lockers, past the same spot where her papers had scattered across the floor on her first week. Room 108 was unlocked. The desks were upright. The whiteboard was clean. Someone had left flowers on her desk. No card, just wildflowers in a mason jar. Quinn set down her bag, picked up a marker, and wrote 4 words on the board. Lesson 1. Know your worth. The door opened behind her. Jalen walked in and sat in the front row. He didn't say good morning. He just opened his notebook and looked up at her. Quinn capped the marker and smiled. The first real smile anyone at Ridgemont had ever seen from her. 2 weeks later, Quinn submitted a proposal to the school board, a free after-school program combining self-defense training with anti-bullying education, open to all students. Taught by Quinn and 2 fellow Marine veterans she had served with at Paris Island. The board approved it unanimously. Within 3 months, 4 other schools in Georgia adopted the same model. By the end of the year, the program had a name, Stand Up Ridgemont, and a waiting list 200 students long. Quinn never talked about the fitness challenge. She never watched her own video. When reporters asked how it felt to take down 5 men, she gave the same answer every time. I didn't take anyone down. I stood up. 1 year later, Quinn Taylor stood backstage at the Georgia State Education Awards ceremony in Atlanta. Navy dress, silver bracelet her grandmother gave her the day she enlisted. Hands clasped, still steady, Georgia Teacher of the Year. Quinn hadn't applied, didn't know she'd been nominated until Principal Whitfield handed her the letter. He couldn't look her in the eye when he said, "Congratulations." The host read the introduction, polite applause. Then a different voice came through the speakers. "I'd like to introduce this year's recipient, if that's okay." Jalen, dark suit, slightly too big in the shoulders. Senior year, 18 years old. The same kid who once walked close to walls. He adjusted the microphone. "A year ago, I was invisible. I kept my head down. I figured if nobody saw me, nobody could hurt me." He paused. "Then I met Ms. Taylor. The room went silent. She didn't tell me to fight back. She told me to wait. She said, 'Discipline is choosing your moment.' I didn't understand that at first. He looked toward the side of the stage. It means knowing who you are and not letting anyone take that from you. He turned back to the crowd. Miss Taylor got knocked to the floor her first week, got her classroom vandalized, got suspended for defending herself, and she came back. She came back and she taught. She came back and she built something. His voice cracked. The Stand-Up Ridgemont program has reached 9 schools, 400 students. I'm one of them. I'm not invisible anymore. He smiled, and I'm not walking close to walls. He stepped back. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Quinn Taylor. The room stood before she reached the podium. She set her hands on the wood, looked out and said 5 words. My grandmother was right. The applause lasted 2 full minutes. Derek Morrison's fraud case was still pending. Craig Hobbs resigned. Vince Fuller transferred. Brady Sutton left teaching. Neil Watts pleaded guilty to tampering and got 12 months probation. Ridgemont looked different now. New reporting system, new oversight committee, a hallway board where students pinned notes about what standing up meant to them. Quinn still drove the same truck, still arrived before sunrise, still kept a journal. Some mornings she stood alone in room 108 and read the words on her whiteboard. Lesson 1, know your worth. Then she opened the door and let them in. That. Imagine getting shoved to the floor in front of 30 people just because of your skin. And nobody does a damn thing. That's why I told Quinn's story. If you've ever been knocked down and stayed quiet, you're not weak, you're dangerous. Like, share, drop your story.